In a world that worships noise, let silence be your sanctuary. In an age that rewards spectacle, choose the invisible work. True becoming is not broadcast. It is born in the shadows, forged in solitude, and revealed only when it must be. To build yourself quietly is not to hide, but to honor the sanctity of your becoming. The oak tree does not boast while still a seed. It roots itself before it reaches upward. So must you. Let us reflect on 5 principles for those who would walk this sacred, silent path. Certainly. Here's an expanded version of the first keynote, Guard the Sanctuary of Your Inner Life, written in a Carl Jung-inspired tone without using any headings. There exists within each of us a quiet sanctuary, a place untouched by the noise of the world, a sacred inner chamber where our most authentic self waits, often unnoticed, often unheard. This space does not ask for approval, it does not seek applause, and it does not thrive under the scrutiny of others. It grows in silence, in solitude, in secrecy. But in the haste of modern life, we are often tempted to open that door too early, to invite others in before we have understood what even lives there. To guard your inner life is to acknowledge its sacredness. It is not selfishness nor arrogance, it is reverence. Not everything that stirs within you is ready to be shared. Some dreams are still tender, some visions are still forming, some truths are not yet strong enough to survive the harsh air of external judgment, and so they must be kept safe, not caged but cradled. In this quiet space, the soul does not shout, it whispers. It reveals itself slowly, piece by piece, to those who are patient enough to listen. But when we rush to speak of what we barely understand, when we share too soon or too widely, we invite others to shape what was meant to be shaped only by the inner hand. We allow the opinions of the outer world to distort the process of our becoming. You must learn to discern between what is meant for the world and what is meant for the womb of your own transformation. Not every idea is ready for light. Not every feeling should be dissected in conversation. Some things must ferment, deepen, and grow roots before they are strong enough to rise. This is not secrecy born of fear, but discipline born of wisdom. To guard your inner life is to protect the soil from which your true self will grow. It is to trust that silence has its purpose, that privacy is not isolation but gestation. It is to remember that even the sun does not rise without first preparing in darkness. So keep something for yourself. A thought, a hope, a struggle, a calling. Let it live where only you can see it. Let it become what it was always meant to be, untouched by the world's grasp. For when your inner sanctuary is protected, you will find strength that cannot be shaken, because it is rooted in a place no one else can reach, of course. Here is a longer, introspective version of Become Intimate with Your Shadow, written in a Carl Jung-inspired tone without any headings or subpoints. There are parts of you do not speak of, places within that feel too strange, too wild, too uncomfortable to name. These are the pieces you avoid, the impulses you deny, the emotions you silence because you have been taught they are unworthy of light. And yet, they remain, not because you are broken, but because you are whole. To become truly yourself, you must stop running from these hidden aspects and instead turn toward them, not with fear but with courage, not to conquer them but to understand them. You must become intimate with your shadow. The shadow is not the enemy. It is not evil, though it can become so if left ignored. It is the part of you that holds your buried rage, your unclaimed sorrow, your secret envy, your denied power, your unspoken desires. It is every truth you were told was too much, too wrong, or too dangerous to reveal. It is the self you abandoned to survive in a world that demanded only fragments of you. But the shadow does not disappear. It waits quietly, persistently, asking not for punishment, but for recognition. To face your shadow is to sit with the discomfort of seeing yourself clearly, not as you wish to be, but as you are. It is to stop pretending that your flaws are accidents, and to begin understanding that they are messages. It is to notice the ways you judge others and realize you are often seeing parts of yourself you haven't dared to claim. It is to realize that your anger might be a cry for boundaries, your jealousy a call to awaken your own potential, your guilt a signal of a deeper conflict still unresolved. This is the work no one applauds because it happens quietly. It humbles you, it strips you of illusions, it breaks the stories you tell about yourself to appear good, and forces you to become real, and yet, this is the path to wholeness, for what you refuse to look at does not die, it hides. It leaks into your relationships, it sabotages your choices, it whispers behind your thoughts until it is seen. And once it is seen, once it is welcomed into your awareness, it can finally begin to transform. To become intimate with your shadow is not to indulge your darkness, but to hold it with such presence and honesty that it loses its power to control you. The parts of you that once terrified you become allies in your growth. What once felt shameful becomes a source of depth. You begin to notice your complexity and, in doing so, extend the same compassion to others. For you now understand that every human being is a mirror of light and shadow, struggling, like you, to find integration. This work will not make you perfect, but it will make you real, it will anchor you, it will humble you. And in that humility you will find the kind of strength that does not depend on approval because it is built on truth. You will no longer fear what lives within because you will have made a home for it. There is no true peace without this reckoning, no lasting growth without this return. The shadow is not there to destroy you. It is there to remind you of everything you still have yet to become. Certainly, here is an expanded version of Withdraw from the Clamor of Comparison, written in a reflective Carl Jung-inspired tone without headings or breaks. There is a quiet violence in comparison, a slow erosion of the soul that happens when we measure our worth against the lives of others. It does not shout, it whispers, constantly, subtly in the background of your thoughts. It asks, "Are you enough?" Only to answer with someone else's reflection. It is not truth it offers, but distortion. The more you stare outward, the more your vision of yourself blurs. What once was a calling becomes a contest. What once was a path becomes a race. Comparison is seductive. It disguises itself as motivation, as inspiration, as ambition. But underneath it is fear. The fear that you are falling behind, that you do not measure up, that you are somehow missing what others have. And in chasing what belongs to them, you begin to abandon what was meant only for you. You lose the thread of your own story because you are too busy reading someone else's. To withdraw from this clamor is not to reject the world, but to return to yourself. It is to remember that your life is not a performance. It is not meant to follow a script, nor to meet a deadline set by strangers. You are not here to match the timing of another's bloom. You are here to grow in your own season. Some are called to rise early, others are meant to ripen slowly. The comparison only blinds you to the rhythm that is uniquely yours. You must learn to notice when comparison creeps in and tempts you to shrink or to overreach. To compare your journey to another's is to misunderstand your own depth. No one else carries your exact history, your particular wounds, your hidden potential. No one else walks with your precise burdens or dreams. You are an unrepeatable experiment in existence. Trying to become someone else is to betray that sacred complexity. Instead of comparison, practice witnessing. Let others inspire you, but do not let them define you. Celebrate what you admire without diminishing what you carry. Their success is not your failure. Their path is not your measure. When you withdraw from the noise of comparison, you begin to hear the quiet voice of your own becoming again. It speaks in symbols, in intuitions, in feelings that do not always translate easily, but they are yours and they are true. This withdrawal is not withdrawal from life, but from illusion. It is a return to integrity. It is the choosing of solitude over spectatorship, presence over performance, authenticity over approval. You reclaim the right to evolve without needing to announce it. You step away from the pressure to prove, and in doing so, you finally begin to see who you really are, when no one is watching. And from this place of self-honesty, your choices begin to align with something deeper than success. They align with meaning, with purpose, with wholeness, and that cannot be found by looking side to side. It can only be discovered by looking within, of course. Here is a lengthened and contemplative version of Let Depth Be Your Measure, written in the introspective Jungian style you've requested, without using headings. We live in a time where surface is everything, where speed is praised and depth is forgotten, where appearances substitute for essence, and being seen is confused with being whole. The world teaches us to count, to rank, to measure, to reduce ourselves to numbers, impressions, outcomes. But you must ask yourself, who are you when nothing is performing? What remains when the metrics fall away? To live meaningfully is to resist the constant pull towards superficiality. It is to measure your life, not by how fast you rise, but by how deeply you are rooted. Not by how many follow you, but by how well you follow your own truth. Not by what you accumulate, but by what you understand. You were not made to skim the surface of your own life. You were made to dive beneath it, to explore the places others avoid, to wrestle with the questions that cannot be answered quickly. There is a part of you that longs for this depth, even if you fear it. It shows itself in the ache you feel when your days are too full of noise and too empty of meaning, in the quiet dissatisfaction that success alone cannot satisfy, in the quiet voice that asks, "Is this all there is?" That voice is your soul calling you downward, into mystery, into complexity, into reality. But depth does not come easily. It asks that you slow down. It demands your attention, your patience, your presence. It will not reveal itself to someone always moving, always distracting, always seeking validation. It lives in silence, in long contemplation, in honest reflection. It comes to those willing to sit with discomfort, to listen without demanding answers, to feel what they would rather escape. Let depth be your measure, even when no one else applauds it. The world may not reward it, but your soul will recognize it. You will feel the difference between a life that looks good and one that feels real. You will know the weight of truth, the peace that comes not from having everything figured out, but from having touched something eternal within yourself. And as you grow in depth, you begin to see more clearly in others as well. You move past their personas and sense their pain, their longing, their buried stories. You learn to listen differently. You learn to love more honestly, because you are no longer relating from the shallow waters of pretense. You are meeting others from the well of your own authenticity. Let the world chase speed. Let it chase noise, image, and applause. You are here for something else. You are here to become profound, to be carved out by truth, to be filled by something greater than recognition. Even if no one sees it, even if no one understands it, you will know, and that knowing is enough. That knowing is the root that holds you steady when the winds of life come. Depth does not shout. It does not seek the spotlight. But in the end, it is what remains when everything else has passed. Let it be the ground you walk upon, the standard you live by, the quiet power behind your every step. Certainly. Here's a fully expanded version of Emerge Only When Rooted, written in a grounded, introspective style reflective of Jungian principles, without the use of headings. There is a rhythm to real growth, a pace that cannot be rushed, a sequence that must be honored. You do not rise before you root. You do not bloom before you break open. The world urges you to appear, to announce yourself, to prove your worth through visibility and volume. But your soul knows better. It knows that anything not rooted is easily torn. Anything that rises too fast collapses just as quickly. There is a strength that only comes from stillness, and a readiness that can only emerge from time spent underground. To emerge only when rooted is to accept that your deepest transformation may remain unseen for a long while. That your becoming does not require an audience. That silence is not stagnation. It is preparation. The most vital parts of your development will happen in the dark, where no one applauds, where no one notices. And that is precisely where your foundation is laid. A tree that wishes to stand for a century must first bury itself deep into the earth. You are no different. There is wisdom in waiting, not out of fear, but out of reverence. When you are rooted, your presence carries weight. You no longer chase moments, you hold them. You no longer perform, you embody. You no longer seek validation. You become the kind of person whose truth resonates without explanation. But to arrive there, you must first go unseen, sometimes misunderstood, sometimes doubted. even by yourself. Pressure to emerge too soon is real. It will come disguised as opportunity, urgency, or the fear of being forgotten. But rushing toward the surface when your roots are still shallow will only exhaust you. You may shine briefly, but you will not endure. There is nothing lasting about growth that skips the inner work. The world sees the fruit, but it rarely honors the root system that makes it possible. So do the slow work, the deep work. Let your solitude refine you. Let your failures teach you. Let your doubts cleanse you of false identities. Strip away the layers that do not belong to you. Learn the language of your own soul. And when your foundation is secure, when your inner life is steady and strong, your emergence will not need to be forced. It will be natural, inevitable, and whole. This kind of emergence is not loud, but powerful. Not desperate, but deliberate. It does not seek attention, but carries presence, and it cannot be undone because it is not based on illusion. It comes from having faced yourself, accepted your contradictions, integrated your shadow, and stood your ground in seasons of quiet becoming. Wait for that, work for that, trust that your emergence will come, and when it does, it will be timeless, because it was born from truth. The world does not need more noise, it needs more rooted souls. And when you rise from that place, you will not rise alone. You will rise as one who carries depth, meaning, and unshakable presence into the world. Let the noise of the world pass by like wind through a forest. You are not here to be seen, you are here to see. You are not here to entertain the world. You are here to become whole. Build yourself quietly. The most powerful transformations happen beneath the surface. And when the time comes to speak, speak not to be heard, but because silence no longer contains you.